Rashi, the Torah portion of the week, Parshas Vayigash, the Torah portion of Vayigash. We are in the sixth reading. We continue the story of Yaakov, of Jacob, coming down to Egypt after the brothers of Yosef coming back and saying that Yosef is alive. So before he comes down to Egypt, the verse says in chapter 46 in the book Bereshis of Genesis, verse 28, Ves Yehuda, and Yehuda, Shalach Lefanav, Yaakov sent before him, El Yosef to Yosef, Lahiris Lefanav, to show the way, to show the way. Sent him to show the way. Goishnat into Goshen, Yavoy Artzik Goshen, and he came to the land of Goshen. Okay, leaving 11 people. Rashi. So what does it mean, lahiris sofonav? That's an unusual term. That he should, lahiris, to show the way in front, to instruct ahead of him. So Rashi says, Kitargumo, according to Onkelos, lefanisle amokum, to clear a place for him. Lahiris hayechis yasheba, and to instruct how he will settle in it. That's what Onkelos says, and he says that's simple meaning. Lafana, before him, before he would arrive there, right? That's what it means. I mean, like before him, meaning ahead of him, right? Before he would arrive there. Now, Midrash Agada, the Midrash says, Lahayris Lafana, what does it mean to instruct before him? The Sakim based Talmud, to establish a house of study. That from there, instruction should go forth. In other words, a yeshiva. Should make up a yeshiva before he comes down. You hear that? Amazing. To set up a yeshiva. Huh?
That is what it means for that statement.
That's the Medrash, right? Oh. So the question is, why does Rashi bring that, right? And look how he brings it. He brings it not even as a second explanation on the words lahayris lefanav in the previous, right? When he gives the Targum the simple meaning, he doesn't give it as a second, but now he brings the word lefanav by itself to explain that. And it seems that must be related to that. I would have thought it'd be related to the word lahayres. Anyway, this is like baffling me, but we're going to remain baffled for the moment, and we'll come back to it. I hope. Well, I'm going to come back to it. I got to see this because there's sichos on the Rebbe, but okay. But yes, Yosef and Yosef harnessed Merkavte, his chariot, Vial Likros Israel, and he went to greet Israel, Aviv, his father. Goshnat in Goshen, right? Viera Elav, and he showed himself to him, meaning he came to his father. And he wept. No, sorry, he fell on his neck, right? Vayef, and he cried. Altzavarav oid. And he was on his, and he cried on his shoulders, oid, further, meaning for a long time. 29. What? Okay. Rashi. Yes, Yosef Mirkavte, and Yosef, he harnessed his chariot. Who atzma? He did it himself. Also, it's a susim, harness his horses, Merkava for the chariot, and his daughters to do quickly Kavod Aviv in the honor of his father, right? Now, he did something that was not the usual thing. He's the second in command. He has those who do it for him. He ain't doing this, right? So why is he doing it? In the honor of his father, to do it quickly. Then he appeared to him. Yosef Yosef appeared to his father, meaning he presented himself in front of him. Then he wept on his neck further, meaning excessively. Lashon harbis b'chiyam, it means excessive weeping. L'chein ki loy al ish yasim oid. Similarly, for he does not put too much upon man. Lashon ribuihu, it's an expression of excessiveness. All right, that's why just with the word oid. Usually the word oid means further, still. So in the context, it means excessive, right? Because if it's still further and it's still, that means it's more and excessive, right? That's the Ein is sama love. Okay, just give me different indicators in other verses. And Yisaf is al chatav. Afkan here too. Here, but Yosef increase and adding into crying. Yosef al ragil, more than the norm, right? So, Shimalei, hello.
You heard it. Missed my appointment. They canceled my appointment yesterday. I ate. They never sent me the paper. Mail strike.
Okay.
Anyways,
Okay. We're in verse 29 in the middle. So now Rashi continues as Aval Yaakov loy nafal atzav bare Yosef. But Yaakov did not fall on Yosef's neck. V'loy nashka, and he didn't kiss him. Amar Rabbi Seinu, our sages say, Hayakir is a Shema. He was reciting the Shema. Psh, you hear that?
I don't know, so what's this?
Look at the verse. Look at the verse. What does it say? Yosef fell on his father's neck and he cried, and he excessively cried, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember the beginning of the parsha? Similar thing happened between Yosef and Binyamin, but they both cried. Here it doesn't say Yaakov cried. What's going on? Where was he? It's as if he wasn't in the story here, right? So Rashi is explaining that he didn't cry. How come he didn't cry? Because our sages say he was busy saying the Shema. The Sikha and the Rebbe from this, and if we're just briefly, Yosef cried for Binyamin's holy temple. 2 temples, right? Remember we learned that? Remember?
Yeah.
Rashi, right? And Binyamin cried over Shiloh that was in the area of Yosef, right? He cried for that, right? Each one cried for the other, right? You're not going to cry for yourself. So why isn't he crying? Yaakov's not crying. You know why? Because Yaakov's fixing it by saying Shema.
yeah, goes one.
Fixing it by saying the Shema.
There's nothing that's even implies.
No, well, that's why he says Rabbi Seinu Amru. And we'll have to look at the Rebbe Sikha for more, but fixing the problems of the Jewish people in the future. He's saying the Shema now, right? That's what he says. Rebbe Seinu Amru, our sages say, right? Leslie, thank you if you don't mind getting the door. Our sages say, in other words, got it? It's clear from the verse that Yaakov did not cry and did not fall on his neck. So then what was he doing? Yosef engaged him. What he did, he wasn't there. He wasn't engaged. What's going on? So that's what Rashi is going to explain. Got it? Got it? Okay, verse 30. Yosef, and Israel said to Yosef, Amusa Pam, I can die now. After I've seen you, Espanecha, your face, because you're still alive. Rashi in 30, Amusapam, I can die this time. Kitarguma, the simple meaning is according to the way Onkelos says. And Onkelos says, were I to die at this time, I would be consoled. I would be consoled. Chaim, anu be'emtza lomdim.
Okay.
Yom Tov v'Shabbat Shalom. Yom Tov v'Shabbat Shalom. Lo. Some people, the child in them never left, you know? They're really amazing. They're amazing. Literally amazing. That's the simple meaning. Got it? In other words, it's sufficient. I'm consoled that I've seen you now that I could die. Right? That's what Onkelos says. Oh, Midrashai, but the Midrash, again, why does Rashi bring this? Right? Says, I was on the impression that I would die two deaths. One in this world and one in the world to come. Because the Shechina, the divine presence of God, was removed from me. That I used to say, that Hashem is going to claim me for your death. And he's going to hold me responsible for your death. Right? Now that you're still alive, I'm only going to die one time. Wow, now I understand why Rashi brings it. Because like first of all, we mean like it's okay for me to die now. Like I've seen your face. So what does that mean exactly? Right? Like, yeah, I'm consoled. Okay, but what do you mean? Because you're still alive. What do you mean because you're still alive? Like,
why would he think that he's gonna die in the world to come?
Rashi just said.
I understand that, but why would Rashi say that? And why would Rashi attribute this to Yaakov saying that? You know, because he lost Joseph. Okay, Joseph was his favorite. So he's dying. He's dying twice because he's dying here.
Because he felt. Do you follow Rashi closely? Who can answer that for Shimon Leib? If you follow, you got to follow what Rashi is saying. The divine presence of God was removed from him once Yosef was gone. So he took that as a sign that he's responsible. I'm responsible. Now that you're alive,
right.
And I don't know if that means that the divine presence came back now to him. Right? Rashi doesn't say that. It's interesting. Right? Interesting. But okay, maybe that's not the point. It's not the point, obviously. The point is, I'm obviously not responsible for your death because you're still alive. Right? So that means I'm only going to die one time. Right?
I see. So if you're responsible for the death of a person,
So what's shot?
Child, then...
Well, I mean, obviously, what did it mean he felt that he was responsible? He's a Rebbe. A Rebbe is responsible for every Jew, right? For every person, he's responsible. So even though he didn't do anything for him to be sold into Egypt, or that there'd be any demise of his, right? He didn't do anything.
But he did actually do something.
No, but he still feels responsible. You know what a Rebbe means? You hear that? Yeah, that's what a Rebbe is. Still feels responsible.
The problem is that he also showed the favoritism, and that was a thing that made the rest of the brothers jealous. So in some,
I don't think he was saying now, okay, I'm not thinking of you in a favorite way. I don't think that's what this is saying over here, right? He didn't say that.
Everybody has an interpretation. That's the beauty of Torah.
No. 1 second. Everybody can have their beichsvara, their their thoughts on it, but that doesn't make it Torah. It doesn't make it a Torah thought, right? It just makes my stomach ailment that's speaking, right?
It doesn't make it a Torah thought because it's not Rashi.
No, because we are who we are. it's a thought, but that doesn't make it a valid thought, right? That's all. Because we're not a holy person, we're not a learned person. We're just giving an opinion, but an opinion doesn't make it Torah. It's not a Torah thought necessarily. I'm not saying I'm not saying what you're saying it has maybe something to it, but it's not a Torah. But in any case, we're not learning Rashal. And we have to remember that. I know the Rashal wants to learn the Rashal because he's enamored with the Rashal, but then so are we, but not with necessarily.
They're gonna put you away, Rabbi. The people on the computer, they don't know online. They don't know who the Rishal is even.
You know who the Rashal is? The one who's talking right now. Reb Shimon Leib. Reb Shimon Leib. He's the Rashal. So he's enamored with his opinion. And we're enamored, and we're and once again, and we're only enamored with him, not necessarily his opinion. But we're enamored with you. Don't get that wrong. Okay. I think the David and Liba and the rest of the gang are asleep right now. So,
Yes.
and
No, we're being very entertained.
I didn't see one emoji.
Oh, sorry.
All right. All right. Okay, let's go. We got a truck over here. Yomer Yosef el Echav, and Yosef said to his brothers, Vel Beis Aviv, and to his father's home, Elav V'agid LaPara. I will now go up and I will tell to Pharaoh. Wow, that's interesting. I'm going up. Oh, they're in Goshen now, because they're in Goshen. They're not in Canaan, right? Elav, and I will say to him, Achai o Beis Avi, that my brothers and my father's house, Asher be'eretz Canaan, Bo Eli, that were in the land of Canaan, have now come to me. Rashi, Elav, Achai, I will tell to him, and further I will tell him, Hanashim Yatzain. Going into the next verse, right? Rashi wants to say that, is a continuing of what into the next verse, 32. Anashim and these men are shepherds. Because they owned livestock. Their shiva karam and their herds. And all that is their possession they brought. And now when Paro will call you and ask you, what's your occupation? What do you do? Right? What do you do? And you shall say, Anshe Mikne, we are men of livestock. In other words, dealers in livestock, what your servants are, min Noreinu, from our youth, v'adata, till now. Gama nachtav, gama b'sina, not also us and also our forefathers, our forebearers were also that, right? Ba'avur, teishva ba'aretz Goshen, in order that we should settle in the land of Goshen, kisaya aves mitzrayim kol re'yetzayin, because it's an abomination. To the Egyptians, all those that are shepherds. They don't like shepherds. You know why? Because sheep is one of their deities, right? It's one of their deities, right? When we went out of Egypt, what did we do? We took a sheep, and for 4 days we tied it to our bedposts in order to take the deity of the Egyptians and then slaughtered it and put it, on the doorpost, right? Rashi, Bavur, Teishu Beretz Goshen, in order that you should settle in the land of Goshen, and it's necessary for you, Mira. Why Goshen? Because it's a land of pasture. And when you will tell Parai, that you're not expert in any other type of work, and he will distance you from him, and you will settle there. Because it is an abomination for those who are shepherds. Because the sheep is a deity for the Egyptians. Okay, we're continuing. Chapter 47, verse 1. Yosef, and Yosef came the Yagi the Para, and he told to Para, the Yomer, and he said, Avi, my father, but Achai, and my brothers, Vitzainam, and their sheep, the Karam, and their livestock, Cholasher Lahem, and all that is to them, Ba'omer, Canaan, they came from the land of Canaan. Behinam bears Goshen, behold, they are in the land of Goshen. Mikne Achav Lakach Hamisha Anashim. Mikse Echad, and from the select, from an end. Kitse means an end, meaning from one end of the brothers, meaning a select of the, in the context, right? Echav of his brothers, Lokach, he took Chamisha, he took only 5 brothers, Anashim, men, Yatzigim, and he stood them up before Pare. So Rashi says, from these words, from the end of his brothers, meaning from the, right? That's the literal translation. It means from among his brothers, right? Or a part of his brothers, not all of his brothers, right? So which brothers? This Rashi is going to go into, right? Those that are least strong, that they do not look mighty. Because if they looked mighty before Pharaoh, okay, maybe they can't do any other kind of work, but they could be warriors. So you want to take the strong ones. The Rashal.
The Rashal was entertaining a number of people, I think, with Friday night Shabbat.
Hey, Lehem. So who were those that were weaker? So he says, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yisachar, or Binyamin. How do you know? Those whose Moshe did not repeat their names. Kishibercham, when he blessed them. At the end of in Parsha Zayis Bracha, the very last Torah portion, Moshe blessed all the 12 tribes. So there were tribes that he mentioned their name twice when he blessed them, and those he mentioned only once. So those that were only what their name mentioned once in the blessing were weaker, right? So that's how we know. But the ones who were mighty, Moshe repeated their names when he blessed them. For example, as Yehuda is called Yehuda, and this is for Yehuda. Hearken, O Hashem, to the voice of Yehuda. Right, so Yehuda's name is mentioned twice. Well, the God Amar Bar Marchiv God, and the God he said, blessed and broaden the ways of God. Well, Naphtali Amar Naphtali, and to Naphtali he said Naphtali again, double Dan Amar Dan. Well, Zvulun Amar Lasher, and so similarly to Zvulun and to Asher. Wow, boy, does this Rashi need explanation. First of all, you're bringing from later on. How could you bring from later on to prove now? Right? 5-year-old doesn't know from what's going on later, first of all. And secondly, why do you have to mention, why do you have to mention three out of the 5, you mention the verse, and 2 you leave out? Why 3 and not all 5? And why do you have to mention 3 of them? I mean, we know. I mean, we know, or we'll take it for granted. Why do you have to mention? And then if you mention not all 5, she Eretz Yisrael. Lashon Bereishis Rabbah. This is based on the version of the Bereishis Rabbah. She Eretz Yisrael, which is Agada from the land of Israel. But in the Babylonian Talmud Matzinu, they say the opposite, as we'll see in a moment. Moshe Shmoisam, that those that Moshe repeated their names, Hayu Chalashim, they were the weak ones, not the strong ones. Right? So accordingly, the ones that Yosef brought now before Pharaoh, the Yehuda, that his name was repeated, it was not repeated because of weakness, for he was strong. But there was a reason for that matter. Baba Kama is explained in the Talmud. And the Bryces in the Sifri Shaninu bracha that we learn in the last Torah portion of Zoysa bracha, Kamei Talmud Shalom, as our Talmud. Wow. So if Yud is not one of the five, because his name was doubled, he was strong. Oh, okay. So those, but then there would be only four that were doubled. Where'd you get five then? Wow. I don't get that. All right. Let's continue. Yeah, and Paro said Elechav to his brothers, Mama Sechem, what is your occupation? Vayemru, and they said El Pare, they said to Pare, saying, we are shepherds. Avadecha, your servants. Also us, also our forefathers, our forebearers. Paran, they said to Parai, Lagur Beretz, Banu, we have come to dwell in the land, Ki Emir Latzain, because there is no pasture grazing area for our flocks that belong to your servants, Ki Kaved Arab, because it's very heavy and very strong. Thereof the famine it's Canaan in the land of Canaan. V'ata now Yeshuna Avadecha bears Goshen. So please let your servants settle in Goshen. Right, that's what they're requesting. V'yomer Parel Yosef, and Parah said to Yosef V'leimor, saying Avicha v'Achecha b'Oelecha. Yeah, now your father and your brothers have come to you. Right, he's saying to Yosef, he's responding to Yosef. Right, Eretz Mitzrayim lefanecha, the land of Egypt is before you. And in the best of the land, settle your father, Besachecha, and your brothers. Yeshu be'eretz Goshen, they shall dwell in the land, settle in the land of Goshen. And if you know, and you have men that are men of capable. If you have men that are capable, men, and they're men capable of something, and you should place them. Sorry, Mikne, as appointed stewards. He translates over here. Mikne al Sherli of livestock that belongs to me. Rashi. That they're proficient in the craft of tending sheep. Right? Allah Sherli, Al Tzain Shali are my flocks. I don't know what's going on over here. I thought that their flocks are deities. I'm a little confused. A little confused here. Eretz, okay, next verse. Yava Yosef, and Yosef came to Yaakov, Aviv, to Yaakov his father. Yamidehu, and he stood him up, which means he was introducing him, right? Lifnei para, before Pharaoh. But the word, like the word Amida, right? Amida means when you stand up for the prayer, for the Shemona Esrei, right? So, but it literally means, and he stood him up, meaning he introduced him. And Yaakov blessed Pare. Rashi, Vivarach Yaakov in 7, and Yaakov blessed. Hishe l'shalom. The word blessing over here means greeted. Kederach kol anirin lifnei hamalachim. There's in the matter of that anybody who appears before a king, the prokim from time to time, and saludir in Old French. Saludir. Haliweh. Here, Parah Yaakov and Parah said to Yaakov, Kama yemei shnei chayecha, how many years of your life? Yemei Yaakov el Parah, and Yaakov responded to Parah and said, Yemei shnei megurai, the years of my megurai, of my sojourning, my living. Shloishim uma'ashana is Shloishim uma'ashana, 130 years, ma'at, few, Ve'ra'im, and hard, difficult. Hayu yemei shnei chayai, where are the days of my life? V'lo hitzigu es yemei shnei chayai la boisai b'mei migureihem. And I haven't equaled in years to my forefathers in the days of their sojourning. Right? So what does that mean? How does he know? So Rashi's going to explain. Do you follow the, like, Yaakov is saying, my days are not equal to my forebearers, right? He's 130. He doesn't know what's going to be with him now, right? So Rashi in 9, Shnei Megurai, the years of my sojourn, Yimei Gerusi, the days of my transience, my days of sojourning, Kol Yamei, Kol Yamai, all the days I used to give bars. I was a transient, right? In other words, I wasn't permanent. Rashi Sigu, and I did not reach. So Rashi adds one word, Lateva, to goodness. In other words, the goodness I didn't reach to that of my father and grandfather.
Why would he make a comparison? Because Pharaoh doesn't know his ancestry. So,
Yeah.
what relevant is that? How relevant is that?
Very good question. Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's like TMI, you know?
Yeah.
Like, too much information.
Yeah.
Well, like,
How are you?
he wasn't asking. Why are you giving that information? What's the point? Like, it's like you're trying to befriend, you know? I don't know. Like it, King asked you a question, answer the question. Why are you adding to? He wasn't asking about the quality of your life. He just asked, how old are you? I don't know, because
Stick to the script. And then the answer itself comes across very negative. It's like,
yeah.
so I mean, I don't want to say anything out of context, but
The only thing that I could think, it's sort of like follows that this way, leave him be so he could have good years now, which indeed did happen, right? Like I didn't have my son for 22 years. He was left as if he died, right? And all of the other things that he had to deal with in his lifetime. So in other words, let him have, peace in his old days.
But why bring the ancestors?
Huh?
But okay, fine.
Well, that's why he says that I didn't have such good days.
All right,
so therefore, because
unlike my ancestors who had a good life.
Yeah. That's the only thing that it would, in the context, that also makes sense, right? In the context, because the context over here is he's with I mean, actually, that was his sons, and not so much him. That the sons, they shouldn't be taken as warriors. Yeah, but I don't know. Okay, verse number 10. Vayivarach Yaakov, and Yaakov blessed his Parai, and he left before Paro. He blessed him, and Vayivarach Yaakov, and Yaakov blessed the manner that anybody who departs from Yifnei Sarim before the presence of a nobleman. You bless them, and you take permission to take leave. What blessing did he give him? That the Nile River should rise to his feet. Because the land of Egypt was not sufficiently watered with rainwater. But rather, the Nile River would rise and irrigate the lands around. From the blessing of Yaakov, and further onward, Para would then come to the Nile River, and the Nile would rise up to him. And irrigate the land. Tanchuma. Interesting. All right. Fascinating. Let's see here from the Rebbe. What time is it? 9:16? Okay. The Rebbe asks, he gives him a bracha that the Nile River should rise up to him, right? Because the Nile would always, overflood and irrigate the lands. But why would he do that? That's one of the deities of the Egyptians, and making Pharaoh into a bigger deity himself, right? Yeah.
Following the cycles, honoring it.
Yeah. So it's the opposite. It's the opposite. The fact that Nilus, the Nile River, right, is in denial, right, of God. No, appreciate the pun.
Okay.
Right, in denial of God, right, and therefore it's a deity, right? That's how they viewed it. So the fact that Yaakov is giving the bracha is saying, no, it's my blessing from that God gave through me, the blessing. It's not nothing to do with you, Pharaoh. It's got nothing to do with the Nile River, that it's a separate entity from God. It's me blessing, being given over the key to bless, that it's from God, that it's freely from God that it's coming. That's what the word over here. Okay. All right. Tanya coming up. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you.